Howdy, hello and welcome here to a new tutorial on industrial digital alchemy. And today I want to present you the wonderful release of Nuke17. As some might know, it's the top-notch compositing software in visual effects, and it's now possible to also use Gaussian Splats inside of Nuke17. So some might have heard the term Gaussian splat, and just to remind and quick refresh your memory, the Gaussian splats is a scanning way of 3D geometry and of the reality we all live in. And you can see here that I have already a big mountainside that I scanned in a valley here available in the Nuke scene. And you can see that it's pretty intense and detailed, and it's mostly made out of those Gaussian splat pixels of those Gaussian density fields that you can see when you pretty much go a bit higher here in the scenery, and you see here all those splats and all those Gaussian elements, they make up such a Gaussian splat scene. So Gauss was also a German scientist who made a lot of research upon the Eastern calculations when the Easter festival is, and that is something that flow right into the Gaussian Easter formula. So how can we approach something like I have here inside of my Nuke scene? And we now have here this new geo import node where we can pretty much import our Gaussian Splat Point cloud. And you can see here that when I just hit this right away, we get a nice error, and I need to load this again. And 1 second. So we pretty much select the scene, and we can see here the points that are inside of our simulation we've made with the mobile handy or with a scanner LiDAR app. As you might know, LiDAR is the scanning technique that you can use for depth information of a scenery. And here I have the scene again inside. And you can, at the beginning, when you use the Gaussian splat, you can be pretty much lost. As you can see here, it's all in this spherical alignment here. And this spherical alignment is pretty much what makes up this Gaussian geometry. And we can see that with the new nodes inside of Nuke17, the geotransform, we can pretty much transform our Gaussian splat as we wish. We can pretty much move it around, and we can higher it or change the position just as you need it for your composition or your production. So what always makes sense inside of such a system here is to delete points that are pretty much not necessary. You can see now here we have this delete node, and everything inside this box is being created. And you can pick here those little squares and move this a bit out, and you can see how our scene, our splat, is evolving actually. So we always need this field shape here, which is new inside of Nuke17, and we use the sign distance field, this SDF. You may know it from Houdini. The sign distance field is a density field that stores a lot of information from densities, like also from smoke or explosions, or you can also do velocity fields with this wonderful SDF. But in our case here, we can pretty much mask out our Gaussian splat. So the cool thing in Nuke17, but it's not only one Gaussian splat, it's actually you can shape out your whole world you need for your composition or for your short movie or feature film like you wish. And you can enter in some more of those elements with a merge node. So we have here a wonderful scene of like a prehistoric scenery of housing in the forest, maybe the Neanderthal or the ancient apes lived inside that, and they pretty much had their whole culture based upon their living rooms. And you can now use this splat here to do a merge. And this is something that looks like this. You see now we have here a wonderful scenery of the stone and of the rocks, and in front of that there starts the building, which goes deeper inside of that mountain range. And you see here that we can pretty much do a change of the perspective with our camera here that is going into our splat render. So the splat render is also something new that's available in Nuke17 to render the splat. And we can then enhance the scene, and with our geotransform node here we can pretty much move the housing around, and we can do kind of rotations like you want to set up your scene. And you can see now here that we have pretty much the whole adjustment inside of the scene. We can also use kind of a grade node. This is the geograde, and with the grade node we can then specify what we want to use for the grading. So we have here our merged layers, and then we can grade the whole scene also. You can see we can make it brighter or even more appearing with the darker values of the black point here. Can change the gamma, and so you can change the light and the appearance of your scene in a very, very interesting way. So we can then grade this, and we can merge this together like so. I have this one here, and this one is okay, and this one in the splat render. No, it's not working, but you get the idea of what this Gaussian splatting can do for your production actually. So here we can see that it's inside, and I also have here my camera 2, and let's move the camera in a bit more dramatic way in front of our housing here. And you can animate the camera and move around. And I thought this was something that you definitely should check out when you have a look at the new Gaussian splattings inside of Nuke17. So let's have a look here. We go a bit more front of that. And here you can see how our camera is pointing right into the housing of our thing. And let me show you another cool thing. So as you can see, we have here a wonderful Triceratops dinosaur skull scanned in a museum. And what we're gonna do now is masking that beauty out and put it into our scene. So first of all, we need here the GeoDelete points node. Hit tab and enter GeoDelete point node. And then we need this new field shape operator. I'm gonna pick it and hit it up here. And we're gonna hit invert points so that every point inside of our box here is pretty much visible. And you can see here, it pretty much looks like a big mass of points, and the actual Gaussian scene is somewhere hidden inside. But with more and more Gaussian splats and the scanning, you can see how those are assembling together. And we're gonna now remove here the splats pretty much. And then from the back side, we also want to remove them so that we have our head, our skull actually isolated. So you can see here how this is deleting more and more points until our skull is isolated. So here is our Triceratops trophy. It's a pretty nice model. Could be from the out your predator hunting on a primal evil planet, like in Badlands if you have seen it. And now we're gonna move our wonderful skull here into the world of the prehistoric building here. And we're gonna do that by going to our GeoNode, hitting the 1 for the viewer. The viewer is the one where you can switch between the nodes and see what the nodes are doing. And then we gonna also need a geo transform node. So let's hit tabulator, geo transform, and there it is. And now we can move our head here, our skull, our trophy from the predator world right to our building and make the scene a bit more appealing. And it's pretty cool as you can scan so much stuff in your neighborhood. You can, with your mobile, do a lot of research and scanning on your own with a LiDAR scanner. Make sure your phone has a LiDAR scanner. And then you can pretty much go and hunt trophies yourself with the scanning. And let's see here. Oh, that looks not bad. So we have this one here, and here's our house. And now let's see how this is coming all together in our grade node. You can see here that we now have a nice, wonderful scenery here. And let's move the head a bit more out so it's welcoming the visitors of Trophy Town. Something like that. Let's rotate it a bit. A bit too far. And like this in the house inside. And you can see how creative you can become with those elements, putting together and filling up the scene. So the models are also available on my webpage for purchasing, as the splat files become a very big deal, or are already a big deal in the visual effects world, also games and real-time visualizations. And now let's go to the camera. Here our splat render. And maybe we move the camera also a bit away. Like here. So, and let's see that now. All right, you can see here our wonderful scene. And now I'm lost in the scene. Oh, no, I don't. And I hope you learned something from this cool Gaussian splatting usage that you can make up in Nuke, the new release, Nuke17. And with that scene, I want to say thanks for watching. Have a great day and scan yourself some cool stuff, and make sure that you build up a little Gaussian Splat library to use it in your future projects. I would love to hear your comments, your ideas, or maybe questions, what you want to know about Gaussian Splats, and especially in Nuke. And see you soon. Bye bye.